A very good morning to you. I am Jamie, and this is, of course, the Chat Up on a beautiful Tuesday. Hope you are having yourself an amazing day so far. We have a lot of different things to talk about. This is the show where we talk about all things inspiring and informative, and I'm going to share with you some entertainment news that I know you need to know. So make sure that you keep it tuned right here on Relax Radio. And before we go on into the actual conversation, I just wanted to remind you that you can download our app, okay? It's available absolutely free of charge on iOS and Android. So make sure that you download our app so that you can take us with you wherever that you go. I also want to remind you that Relax Radio is basically an interactive radio, okay? We are about what you have to say. We are all about, your thoughts and your perspectives. So I would absolutely love it if you can comment down below if you're listening to us on any of our live platforms. If you could comment down below with what you're feeling, how your day is going, or if you want to add on to anything that I'm talking about, or if you want to disagree, it absolutely doesn't matter. Go right ahead and do it because we would love to hear your opinion. With that being said, I also want to remind you that you can definitely call us if you're listening to us on any of our social media platforms, or if you're listening to us on our app. All you got to do is call me up on 07852 473 473. Again, I want to remind you, we're going to be talking about a lot of different things. So I really do want to hear your thoughts and your opinions. Where do you stand? What do you think? How is your day going so far? Please don't be afraid to comment down below if you're listening to us on any of our live platforms, because we can have a direct conversation if you do. Now, with that being said, first off, actually, I do want to talk about something that I think is quite interesting, and that has a lot to do with the decisions that you make in your life, okay? Now, I know a lot of people that consider themselves successful in my life personally. I know a lot of people that consider, where they are at in life, they're extremely happy. And if you do look at a lot of these successful, so-called successful people, there are certain things that these people tend to do differently. There are certain things that all of these people do, certain things that they don't do that we ordinary people do on a day-to-day basis. So what I want to do within the next couple of minutes is talk to you about a few things that successful people do differently. Okay, see, I think most of us, okay, again, I want to remind you that the word successful in itself is very subjective. What is successful to you isn't essentially what I am going to be considering as successful. But I feel like society and social media as a whole has made us believe that successful is just one thing. Being successful means being financially affluent, being financially stable. Yeah, that's one aspect of success, but I believe that success is a spectrum. Success means different things to different people. And at the end of the day, when I mean success, within the next couple minutes, when I bring out the word success, I mean success to you personally. It differs from person to person, but you can apply whatever you think success is when I talk about getting successful, if that makes any sense. Now, see, the other thing that I do want to talk about before we actually get into the facts of what successful people do differently, I do want to remind you that at the end of the day, all of us have been successful up to a certain extent. Some of us just have used that success and have utilized that success so much better than others. But at the end of the day, all of us have been successful in reaching at least some of our goals. Now, the kind of question that I've always asked myself is, Jamie, why have you been successful in accomplishing a few goals, but why have you not been successful in accomplishing these other goals? Now, if you aren't sure about the answer for this question as to why you were capable of succeeding in some of your aspects of life or achieving some of your goals in life, and why weren't you successful in achieving a few other goals in your life? Well, if you do have this dilemma, I want you to remember that you are far from alone in confusion. It turns out that even brilliant, highly accomplished people who you consider to be celebrities and affluent people are pretty lousy when it comes to understanding this concept of succeeding or failing. And if you actually do ask a very successful person, if you go up to them and ask, hey, can I know why you became successful? The answer is probably going to be, I don't know, I worked hard. That is the answer that you're going to get from a lot of people. Now, see, the intuitive answer that you are born predisposed to certain talents and are lacking in others is really just one small piece of the puzzle. So, in fact, decades of, say, research and looking into this subject on achievement basically suggests that people reach their goals not simply because of who they are, but mostly because of what they do. Does that make sense to you? Because that's a misconception that I had for a long part of my life. A lot of people, growing up, I was told, oh, if you can't, you basically, everybody has a talent. That's what I was told when I was young, and I thought that to be really unfair. Why couldn't I be able to sing as well as Beyonce? Or why wasn't I able to be as technologically smart as Elon Musk or somebody like that? See, this idea of success being connected to your talent is a very incorrect, to say the least. Okay, now I know that's going to sound very controversial, and I know that sounds really problematic, but at the end of the day, I feel like personally there is a lot of people on this earth. Every single one of us have talents, but it's how we utilize these talents that essentially make us successful or make us not successful. See, the only difference between you and, say, somebody really successful, say Elon Musk or Beyonce, and I can't think of any more successful people right now. But if you get the idea of it, what I'm trying to say is that at the end of the day, these are people who decided to do things differently in order to be successful. Now, that's kind of what I want to talk about. What are a few things that you and me can adopt by looking at these successful people, things that they essentially do differently? Now, the first thing that I've noticed that a lot of successful people do is to get specific. Now, when you set yourself a goal, try to be as specific as possible. Okay, for example, let's think of an example. Okay, so when you say you are on your journey to lose weight, okay, then your goal should not be lose some weight, but instead your goal needs to be lose 5 pounds or lose 5 kilograms. So, see, when you have specific tasks or when you have specific goals, it just makes it so much easier for you to accomplish them, because in your mind it's so much easier to get to that point of losing 5 pounds as opposed to losing some weight, because what is some weight? Right? Which is why I want you to be as specific as possible when you set your goals. It gives you this clear idea of what success looks like to you. Knowing exactly what you want to achieve kind of gives you this motivation until you actually get there. So think about the specific actions that need to be taken to reach your goal. Just promising you'll eat less or sleep more is too vague. Which is why I want you to be as specific as possible when you create goals for yourself. That's super important. So instead of saying, I want to lose some weight, say, I want to lose 5 pounds by this specific date. Or have a specific goal. I'll be in bed by 10 p.m. on weeknights. This leaves no room for doubt about what you need to do or whether or not you've actually done it. Does that make sense to you? Because that is definitely something that successful people do. So when you set goals for yourself, make sure that you are as specific as possible. Now, let's move on to the next point. What is another thing that successful people do differently that you absolutely need to start doing? It's this idea of seizing the moment. Or I don't know if you've heard the word carpe diem, but it's one of my I don't know if it's a quote or a phrase, but carpe diem is one of the best philosophies to live by, in my opinion. Carpe diem basically means seize the moment, seize the day. And that's what I want you to understand when it comes to achieving your goals as well. You need to seize the moment to act on your goals. Given how busy most of us are and how many goals we are juggling all at once, we want to succeed in our careers, we want to be good with our families, we want to do our education, and we have a lot of things that we are juggling at the same moment. And it's not surprising that we routinely miss opportunities to act on a goal because we simply fail to notice them. And that's not your fault specifically. You can't help it. You're just doing so many things that you forgot to focus on this specific goal. So, one thing that I do want you to do is notice it. Notice all of your goals. Did you really have no time to work out today? Are you telling me that you had absolutely no chance at any point today to return that phone call? See, achieving your goal means grabbing hold of these opportunities before they slip through your fingers. And that is essentially one thing successful people certainly do. If you want to be as productive as possible, you've got to seize the moment to act on your goals. And that has a lot to do with procrastination as well. For me personally, I've spoken about this before, but one of my greatest vices is procrastination. I tend to, even when it comes to exams, and I know you probably can relate to this, when it comes to exams, I will wait for the last minute to start working on my assignments or studies or whatever. And that's a lot of undue pressure that you're putting on yourself as a person. Now, to seize the moment, you need to decide when and where you will take each action, the way you want to. And you need to do that in advance. Again, be as specific as possible. If it's Monday, Wednesday, or Friday, say, I'll work out 30 minutes before work on each of these given days. So when you are specific and when you kind of plan it ahead in advance, studies show that this kind of planning essentially helps your brain to detect and seize the opportunity when it arises. This essentially increases your chances of success roughly by 300%, according to this research article that I did read just now, which is absolutely amazing. So what do you need to do if you actually want to achieve your goals, no matter how small or how big they are? You need to plan in advance so that you can seize the moment to act on your goals. Now, the other one, before we head on over to a little break, I want to talk to you about this concept of knowing exactly how far you have left to go. Now, if you want to be successful, achieving any goal, in my opinion at least, requires honest, regular monitoring of your progress. Now, this is something that's done for us and to us when we're in school and when we're with our parents. They monitor us, they tell us, do this, do that. But as we grow up, that we don't have that third party or second party that's essentially monitoring us. That's something that we have to do ourselves. Which is why I want you to never forget to kind of monitor your progress. If you don't know how well you are doing, you can't adjust your behavior or your strategies accordingly. Check your progress frequently, weekly, or even daily, depending on whichever goal you choose. Now, those are essentially a few things that successful people do that you definitely need to adopt in your life. We'll be talking about a lot more interesting things, but all you got to do is make sure that you keep it tuned right here on Relax Radio. back to the show. It's such a pleasure to have you on board. If you're just tuning in, well, then this is the Chat Wrap on Relax Radio. Hope you are having yourself an amazing day so far. I want you to be living your best life, and obviously, to do that, you need to be happy with yourself, which is why I always tell everybody that's listening, and I feel like I say this every single day, but it's something that can't be said enough. I want to remind you that it's super important that you learn to love yourself. The most important person that you need to learn to love is yourself. Because at the end of the day, if you are not kind to yourself, if you don't love yourself, how essentially are you going to do it to anybody else? Which is why I want to make sure that you fall in love with yourself. And how you can do that is by working on yourself, working on what you're passionate about and working on things that make you happy. Now, earlier on, we were talking about something regarding something on that lines. We were talking about what successful people do differently. And I feel like I do want to continue that conversation for the next couple minutes as well, because I also do have a lot of other things that I do want to share with you. I don't know why I did that, but for so far, we've been talking about three things. I told you that there are certain things that successful people do that you need to do, and I told you that growing up in our childhoods, we've often been taught that becoming successful depends on who you are or where you come from or what kind of parents you have. But I told you how that's absolutely not true. At least in my perspective, I honestly think that success is more of what you do than rather than who you are. And I told you that there are certain things that you need to do if you truly do want to achieve your goals, no matter how simple, how small, or how big they are. Now, I spoke to you about how you need to get specific with your goals. If you have certain things that you want to achieve in life, it's so important that you be very specific about these goals. Instead of, I said, for example, instead of saying, I want to lose some weight, say, I want to lose 5 pounds. Thereby, you give your goal some sort of specificity. Is that even a word? Is specificity a word? I highly doubt it's a word, but you get the gist of it. You need to be very specific when it comes to actually planning out goals for yourself, because that's going to make it easier for yourself to actually accomplish those goals. Now, we also spoke of the importance of seizing the moment to act on your goals. I told you how, again, you need to plan in advance if you want to be successful with your goals. And I also told you how you need to know exactly how far you have left to go, which means I told you that you need to get into this habit of monitoring your progress. Now, what are a few other things that you can do in order to be successful? What are a few other things that you need to do in order to ensure that you are as successful can be? First thing is okay, now I feel like this is going to be a very controversial topic, but hear me out, okay? Before you make any judgments for yourself, I want you to hear me out completely. I understand that being an optimist or being optimistic is absolutely important. I talk about positivity all the time. I talk about how you need this positive energy in your life if you want to do anything properly. But with that being said, I also want you to remember to be a realistic optimist, or a realistic I want your positivity to be encircled or entwined with realism as well. Now, that is absolutely important when you are setting a goal for yourself. See, when you are setting a goal, by all means, engage in a lot of positive thinking. I've spoken about how important it is, how important positive thinking is. But believing in your ability to succeed is enormously helpful for creating and kind of keeping sustaining rather your motivation. But whatever you do, don't underestimate how difficult it is to reach your goal. Now, that I feel like is something that a lot of us do. We set a goal for yourself, and it's so easy for us to say it, because saying it takes virtually no energy at all. We say, oh, we're going to lose weight, or we're going to be successful in our careers. But how Have you really measured how difficult it's going to be? Don't ever lie to yourself and be, oh no, it's going to be easy, it's going to be a bed of roses, when it's not. Okay, if your goal that you have set for yourself is necessarily going to be something that's tough to achieve, or is going to be something that's hard to achieve, you need to be real with yourself. You need to tell yourself, look, listen, it's going to be hard, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's a deterrence from me actually accomplishing the goal. Which is why never underestimate how difficult it will be to reach your goal. Most goals worth achieving require time and planning and effort and persistence and hard work and dedication. Studies show that thinking things will come to you easily and effortlessly leaves you ill prepared for this sort of rocky journey ahead. And it kind of significantly increases the odds of failure. That's why I think it's super important. If you do want to be successful, you've got to be a realistic optimist, because that's a very different from blind optimism. Now, the other thing that I do want to talk about is focusing on getting better rather than being good. Now, just like success, becoming good is again very subjective. Which is why, see, I believe that there's good in every single one of us. It's just some of us don't take the effort to portray it to ourselves and to the rest of the world. So, believing you have the ability to reach your goal is absolutely important. But so is believing you can get that ability. See, many of us believe that our intelligence or our personality and our physical aptitudes are absolutely fixed. That no matter what we do, we're not going to improve when it comes to our personality. And we kind of use that as an excuse. I've come across so many people that get mad and angry for absolutely no reason, and then they just use their personality as an excuse. Like, oh, I'm sorry, I can't help it. That's just the person I am. Excuse me, that is not an excuse. One thing you need to remember if you want to be successful is that none of these things, like intelligence and personality and physical aptitudes, none of these are fixed. No matter what you do, if you think that you're not going to improve, that is a mindset of somebody that's on their way to failure. If we believe that no matter what we do, this is just who we are, or this is a result, we are a result of our circumstances, then you kind of develop a very negative attitude. You focus on the goals that are about proving yourself rather than developing and acquiring new skills. What I'm trying to say is that a lot of us believe that our circumstances or our parents or the place we come from are excuses for how we turned out to be as people. But one thing that you really, really need to stop doing is using your personality, using your context, your background, your family, your environment that you grew up in as an excuse for being not a great person. I myself, and I know you have also, I told you before, I myself have come across so many people that have used the excuse of, oh, I'm sorry, that's just the way I was brought up, when they behave absolutely terribly. That is not an excuse. Because you need to remember that if you want to be successful, like I told you before, things like personality, things like physical aptitudes, things like intelligence are not fixed. Okay, you can change within the span of a time, and these are things that you can develop and acquire with time. That's why I think that the belief that ability is completely fixed is absolutely wrong. Abilities are all kinds of profoundly malleable, it's flexible. Embracing the fact that you can change is going to allow you to make better choices, and it's going to help you to reach your fullest potential. People whose goals are about getting better rather than being good take difficulty in stride and appreciate the journey as much as they appreciate the destination. And I think that is so, so very important. So, if you want to be successful, one thing that you absolutely must do is to focus on getting better rather than being good. Now, the other thing that I do want to talk to you about, which I think is so important, which I think something that has been absolutely valuable in my life, it's having grit. What is grit? Okay, so grit basically is this a willingness to commit to long term goals and to persist in the face of difficulty. I feel like we live in a day and age where everything's so easy. And this concept of success as a whole, I've spoken of this before, but a lot of Gen Zs and millennials think that being successful is absolutely easy. You know, we look at these social media influencers, or we look at content that is posted by influencers that get millions of views within the span of a few hours, and we think that is success. But I started out this segment off by telling you that success is not what society seems it to be. Success for you is a very much different from what I think success is. Success for me is not having a yacht and luxury cars and a luxurious house. Success for me is me being able to accept myself. Success for me is being happy with the kind of person that I've turned out to be. So, see, success is very different from person to person. And that's why we need to understand that becoming successful is not easy. Long lasting success is not something that is handed to us on a plate. When you do understand that, you also need to understand that if you want to be successful, you need to have grit. Studies show that gritty people obtain more education in their lifetime, earn higher college GPAs, but more importantly than that, they work towards becoming the best when it comes to their talents and their ideas. Grit predicts which cadets will stick out their first grueling year at say a West Point or something. So grit basically is what is absolutely important in for you to become successful. The good news, though, is if you aren't particularly willing, or if you aren't particularly gritty right now, there is something you can do about it. People who lack grit more often than not believe that they don't just have the innate ability successful people have. If that describes your own thinking, well, there's no way to put this nicely. I want to say you are wrong. You could have a different opinion from mine, but that is the general consensus. If if you think that you don't have the ability successful people have, that is absolutely not correct. As I said before, effort, planning, persistence, and good strategies are what it really takes to succeed. So, embracing this knowledge will not only help you see yourself and your goals more accurately, but also it will do wonders for your grit. Build your willpower muscle, your self control muscle. That is something that I feel like, me included, a lot of Gen Zs, a lot of millennials don't have this aspect of self control. That's where this willpower muscle comes in. It's just like any other muscle in your body. When it doesn't get much exercise, it becomes weaker over time. But when you give it more regular workouts, by putting it to good use, it will grow stronger and better able to help you successfully reach your goals. So, to build willpower, take on a challenge that requires you to do something you'd honestly rather not do. It could be these are definitely not easy. It could be something like, okay, for me personally, something that I'm going to try to do is to give up on unhealthy snacks, you know, or do 100 sit-ups a day. Stand up straight when you catch yourself slouching. Try to learn a new skill. These are certain things that you could do to give your willpower muscle or your self control muscle a workout. When you find yourself wanting to give in or give up or just can't be bothered to do any of this, just don't. Start with just one activity, and I'm telling you, it's not going to be easy. But I guess trying really does help. So start with just one activity and make a plan for how you will deal with troubles when they occur. It will be hard in the beginning, but I promise you that it is going to get easier. And that's the whole point. As your strength grows, you can take on more challenges and step up your self control workout. So it's so important that you kind of practice self control. If you're not particularly great at it, well, then don't worry about it, because a lot of us are not great at a lot of things. That doesn't mean that we have to stay not great at it. So make sure that you work out your self control muscle, you work out your willpower muscle, and focus on what you will do instead of what you won't do. If you want to successfully lose weight or quit smoking or put a lid on your bad temper, figure out good habits that will replace your bad ones rather than just focusing on only the bad habits themselves. Does that make any sense to you? Because I think that is definitely one thing that can help you to get on with your life. Now, forget things that if you want to, like I told you, if you have goals of quitting smoking or putting a lid on your bad temper or successfully losing weight, don't focus on the negative aspects, rather focus on things that you could do. Now, with that being said, I have a lot more things to talk to you about. There's a lot that's happening with regards to the entertainment industry that is absolutely exciting. So make sure that you keep it tuned right here on Relax Radio. But for now, I will take a quick break, but we'll be right back. Welcome back to the show. I am Jamie, and this is, of course, the Chat Wrap on Relax Radio. If you're just tuning in, I want to say a big thank you going out to every single one of you that's tuning in. It's such a pleasure to have you on board, and I want to remind you that we absolutely love to hear what you have to say. All you got to do, if you're listening to us on any of our social media platforms, if you're listening to us live on any of our social media platforms, you could comment down below, or there should be a comment box somewhere around where you're looking at us, and you can comment to me and have a discussion, and we can talk about whatever it is that you need. If you want to let me know how your day is going, if you want to talk to me about whatever I am talking about, or whatever it is, if you disagree with what you have to say, whatever it is, we would absolutely love to hear from you. So go on right ahead and let me know how it's going. Let me know what you're thinking, because it would be such a pleasure to have you on board. With that being said, we've been talking about a lot of interesting things, but right now I just want to grab your attention to what's happening around the world with regards to COVID-19. I think we should be, if you are living in the UK, that is, you should be super grateful for the kind of facilities that we have in the UK, and the fact that a lot of these restrictions are, minimized and eased down as opposed to a few months back. And that's amazing to know that the situation is more or less under control in the UK. And that's genuinely such good news, especially if you're living in the UK. But with that being said, I completely understand, and you need to be aware of the fact that around the world, especially in Asia, especially in a lot of developing countries, this is not the case. There are people that are dying by the hundreds per day, especially in countries like India and other South Asian countries. It's been so hard. I've been reading up on a couple of these stories, and oh my goodness, it's absolutely insane. And I think that's just a reminder to us every day, especially if, like I said, you could be living around the world, because we have people listening to us from around the world. But if you are living in the UK, you definitely have so much to be grateful about. And if you still have your job, and if you have a source of income, you definitely should be super grateful, because that's not the case for a million of people around the world. But with that being said, the reason I wanted to talk to you about this is because millions of COVID-19 vaccines apparently could be wasted if rich countries send large amounts of leftover doses to poorer nations in one go, according to the UNICEF. Now, if you're lost, well, then it's okay. I will just give you a little bit of background information. A lot of developed countries like the UK, like the US, and a lot of other developed countries actually have promised to send all of their leftover vaccine doses to developing poorer nations. But according to the UNICEF, excuse me, but according to the UNICEF, a lot of these vaccines will indeed be wasted if all of these rich countries or developed countries send all of these leftover doses to poorer nations in one go. Now, the charity said that there needed to be a steady supply throughout the year, because most of the developing countries don't have the resources to use them all at once. Now, I know that a lot of people in the UK, or a lot of people around the world, have been criticizing countries like India, countries that are developing, and other developing countries, that they've been wasting a lot of vaccine doses. But the UNICEF just made us aware, as a global community, as an international community, they made us aware that countries like India and other poorer nations don't have the resources that they need to essentially utilize such a large amount of doses or vaccine doses in one go. So the fact that most of these developing nations, I know that there's a lot of criticism that is going on in the international community with regards to countries like India wasting vaccine doses, but it's because they absolutely do not have the capacity or the resources that's needed to utilize all of these vaccine doses in one go. So now there is another project that's coming up where rich countries have, like I told you before, large amounts of leftover doses are going to be sent to poorer nations. But the UNICEF today warned all of these developing nations that that is not a good thing to do, and they should be supplied steadily throughout the year, as opposed to all in one go. Now, the UK and others have promised to donate their surplus doses, but they have been asked to give more earlier and give more in a well balanced out manner. Now, stars including Billie Eilish, David Beckham, and Priyanka Chopra, if I'm not mistaken, she had put out a plea on Twitter as well, and they're all backing UNICEF's plea. And the celebrities have signed a letter to the G7 group of countries, including the UK, asking them to donate 20% of their vaccines by August. Now, the pandemic will not be over anywhere until it's over everywhere, said David Beckham. And the reason I wanted to bring this up, I know this is not usually what I talk about during my show, but the reason I wanted to bring this up is just because of how supportive the celebrities are being in giving out that message. And this quote that, or rather, this quote from David Beckham saying that the pandemic will not be over anywhere unless it's over everywhere, I think is absolutely true. And it's one of the most real things that I heard in some times, That's true. And I get that I started out by telling you that we are super lucky to be living in the UK, given that a lot of our restrictions are easing down and we don't have healthcare issues as much as the rest of the world does. So definitely a majority of us living in the UK are absolutely lucky to be living in the UK. But with that being said, I also want to remind you that that's not the case for so many other people around the world, especially I told you in India and especially in other countries in Asia. They are suffering, and I know that a lot of countries are on complete lockdown, and most of these countries can't even handle a third lockdown. Most of these countries, they're on like their fourth lockdown and they can't handle it. Their economies cannot handle it, and most of these people in developing nations are daily wage earners, which means unlike a lot of us in the UK, they earn according to the hours that they work. So, how essentially are these people feeding their families, feeding their children? Keep aside education. Most of these children are probably just going to be stripped of their education because they don't have money or resources needed just to have a meal. It is definitely very depressing around the world, and I understand. And when I hear about all of these, I feel really helpless because what essentially can I do about this? And that's when I realized that the most important thing that all of us, the more blessed I would say, or the more lucky people around the world, what we can do is to count our blessings and be appreciative of what we have and try to share with other people as much as possible. Being kind doesn't take too much effort, so understand that the kind of life that you are living is a dream, is a fairy tale to somebody else out there. So you need to realize that if you are living in a developed country, if you're living in the UK, I know we have a lot of people listening in from around the world, but I want to remind you that it's so important that you be appreciative of the kind of life that you are living, because like I just told you, that's not the case around the world. Millions of people are dying, and like I told you, I just read of how countries like India, Sri Lanka, Malaysia, Singapore, and a lot of the Asian countries are on their third or fourth lockdown. Now, I told you how these countries can't essentially, their economies can't handle another wave of COVID-19, but they're essentially undergoing it. And yeah, it's absolutely depressing to see what's going on around the world. Now, again, the reason I wanted to bring this up, if you're just tuning in, the reason why I wanted to bring this up is not to give you a bad start or a negative start to your day, but that essentially should help you to be more positive. That essentially should be like the motivation for you to be appreciative of what you have, because it's so important. Because no matter how terrible your life seems at this point, there are people who barely have any food to eat, and they're stranded on the roads. So I guess it's so important that you be appreciative, count your blessings, and do whatever that you can, because if you are in a position where you can reach out to people, be kind, do it. Okay, because it absolutely costs us nothing to be kind. And my philosophy is, when you're kind, you're not just being good to somebody else, but you're also being good to yourself. When you're kind, the sense of satisfaction that you get is incomparable. So do as much good as possible, because this world, God knows, deserves as much good as it can get, especially in these trying times that we're living in. So do as much good as possible, and it can mean smiling at the person on the streets when you're going to work, or it can mean just talking to somebody that needs comfort or guidance, or just checking up on somebody. These are little things that don't cost us anything, that we could do in order to make the world a better place. Now, with that being said, that was a little bit of a rant from me, I think. But with that being said, I want to remind you to be a part of the show. If you agree with what I have to say, or even if you disagree, it's completely fine. I completely understand that there's so many different opinions out there. Whatever it is, all you got to do is let me know, and I can take you on air with me. If you have something that you want to share, we can have a direct conversation on air. And there's so many people listening, that we have an entire bunch of people listening in, actually, on all of our different platforms. That's on live, on the app, on YouTube, and a lot of different apps as well. And I want to say a big thank you going out to everybody else. And if you want your voice to be heard, if you have something that you want to share with everybody else listening in, all you got to do is comment down below if you're listening to us on any of our lives. Now, with that being said, let's head on over to a little break, but make sure that you keep it tuned right here on Relax Radio.
Oh, and it could be a really good pickup line as well. Oh, and it could be a really good pickup line as well. Ladies who ask, "Hey, excuse me, so why are you wearing something so colorful?" I mean, hey, you can always have something up on your sleeve. I mean, you look like a guy who would do.
You know me too well. You know me too well, Nick.
Got me thinking. You want to stand out. Why do you want to stand out though so much, especially with these kind of shirts when you're riding? There must be a purpose behind it, right?
Well, when you say a purpose, Nick, what I do, I wear the shirts, and mainly one because they're nice and bright, so they make me visible, especially if I'm riding on the road.
Okay. I mean, yeah, that's very important, right? Because you want cars, yeah.
Very important. And also, like, people see me in, like, calves, and perhaps I shouldn't be saying this on air, I suppose, but in the bar afterwards.
All right.
And it gives them something to look at, and it makes them laugh. It makes them laugh, so that's why I do it.
Oh, and it could be a really good pickup line as well. Ladies who ask, "Hey, excuse me, so why are you wearing something so colorful?" I mean, hey, you can always have something up on your sleeve. I mean, you look like a guy who would do.
You know me too well. You know me too well, Nick. Exactly. I never said that, but yes, that's another reason why I wear them as well.
I mean, yeah, it's standard peacocking. I mean, most guys wear these, weird hoops on their ears, or they might have like a cut eyelash or some an eyebrow or something like that, or some chains or rings. But you stand out properly. Anybody would want to know what's happening with this guy. Who's this guy?
Yeah, I just have to be different. That's all it is.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Welcome back to the show. I am Jaimmy, and this is, of course, Relaks Radio. Hope you are having yourself an amazing day so far. Hope you are absolutely living your best life. And if you're not, well, then this is a reminder to do so. And it's not as hard as or daunting as it actually sounds, because it's about you being happy with what you're doing and you being happy with the kind of life that you are living. And that, I think, is definitely the most important thing when it comes to being successful. Now, with that being said, I also want to remind you to make sure to download our app. It's available absolutely free of charge on iOS and Android. So make sure that you go download our app. And if you're tuning in, and if you want to talk to me, share your thoughts and your ideas and your opinions, I would absolutely love to hear from you. All you got to do is go on right ahead and comment down below. Now, if you're listening to us on any of our live platforms, it's super easy. All you got to do is drop a comment, and I can share the comment with everybody else that's here and share your your thoughts and your ideas, which makes us a very good bridge or a very good platform for you to share your thoughts and ideas with everybody listening in as well. So make sure that you do that. Make sure that you get on board and be a part of the show. Now, with that being said, something very, very exciting happened with regards to the entertainment industry because the BAFTA TV Awards actually happened a few days back, and the BAFTA TV Awards honored multi-talented Michaela Cole for "I May Destroy You." Now, I haven't actually watched the drama. I haven't got to watching "I May Destroy You," but if you have, let me know how it is. I've heard that it's absolutely amazing, and come on, she won so many BAFTA TV Awards for that drama, so I'm assuming that it's got to be good. Now, Michaela Cole has been named Best Actress at the BAFTA TV Awards after also winning BAFTAs for writing and directing her drama, I May Destroy You. Now, Cole picked up the Best Actress prize as well as the Best Miniseries at the BAFTA TV ceremony, which was held here in London last Sunday. Yeah, last Sunday. And it came 2 weeks after she won writing and directing prizes at the BAFTA Craft Awards, which reward backstage talent. So Michaela Cole is who you've got to watch out for. She's doing absolutely stunning things. And Sunday's other winners included Normal People's Paul Mescal, who was named Best Actor and Dance Group Diversity. Now, the troupe won the Must See Moment Award for their controversial Britain's Got Talent routine, which reflected the killing of George Floyd and the Black Lives Matter movement. And I actually have seen snippets of it on TikTok and on other social media platforms, but I also haven't watched the entire routine. But I had a couple of co-workers that did, and they said that it was absolutely amazing. So the troupe definitely deservedly won Must See Moment Award for their controversial Britain's Got Talent routine. Which essentially portray the Black Lives Matter movement. Now, the routine was aired in September and made BGT the most complained about TV show of 2020, but Diversity have now received a show of support by winning the night's only category to be voted for by the public. Now, Ashley Banjo said it was so much more than just an award. The period after the broadcast was a really dark time, apparently, because there had been so many complaints, just a torrent of racially charged abuse threats subsequent to them performing this act on a BGT. And he added, this is what change looks like. And he said, thank you to everybody for having difficult conversations and for standing up for what's right. So that's amazing that he was being acknowledged for something that was supposed to be controversial, but something that we need in today's society. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is the troupe called Dance Group Diversity won at the BAFTA TV Awards, won Must See Moment Award for their controversial Britain's Got Talent routine, which essentially reflected the killing of George Floyd and the Black Lives Matter movement. Now, additionally, what I loved about the BAFTA's TV Award was that comedian Richard Ayoade hosted the event with some nominees attending socially distanced ceremony in person, while others accepting their awards remotely, online, which is also pretty great. So Cole was honored for creating, writing, directing, starring in, and executively producing I May Destroy You. Now, it's a 12-part drama about a woman that is attempting to remember and come to terms with her sexual assault, and it was inspired by something that actually happened to Cole herself. And she dedicated the Best Miniseries Award to the show's crew, who were the unsung heroes. Now, with that being said, I told you, I started this off by telling you that I haven't actually gotten to watch the miniseries. I haven't actually gotten to watch I May Destroy You, but like I told you, I've had so many people sing praises about this miniseries. And if you have watched it, or if you haven't watched it, go right ahead, watch it, and let me know what you think. You could do so by calling me on 0785247 73473, or you could very simply comment down below. If you're listening to us on any of our live platforms, go right ahead and comment down below and let me know what you are thinking, because we are all about what you have to say. We're all about your opinions and your thoughts. At the end of the day, everything I share is essentially my opinion, but I would love to hear your perspective, your ideas, and if you want to share it with every single other person that's listening in, do go right ahead and do yourself and everybody else listening in a favor as well, and share your thoughts and your opinions. Now, with that being said, let's head on over to a little break, but make sure that you keep it tuned right here on Relax
Oh, and
Radio.
it could be a really good pickup line as well. Girls, ladies who ask, "Hey, excuse me, so why are you wearing something so colorful?" I mean, hey, you can you can always have something up on your sleeve. I mean, you look like a guy who would do.
You know me too well. You know me too well, Nick.
Got me thinking. You want to stand out. Why do you want to stand out though so much, especially with these kind of shirts when you're riding? There must be a purpose behind it, right?
Well, when you say a purpose, Nick, what I do, I wear the shirts mainly, one, because they're nice and bright, so they make me visible, especially if I'm riding on the road.
Okay. I mean, yeah, that's very important, right? Because you want cars, yeah.
Very important. And also, like, people see me in, like, calves, and perhaps I shouldn't be saying this on here, I suppose, but in the bar afterwards.
All right.
And it gives them something to look at, and it makes them laugh. It makes them laugh, so that's why I do it.
Oh, and it could be a really good pickup line as well. Girls, ladies who ask, "Hey, excuse me, so why are you wearing something so colorful?" I mean, hey, you can always have something up on your sleeve. I mean, you look like a guy who would do.
You know me too well. You know me too well, Nick. Exactly. I never said that, but yes, that's another reason why I wear them as well.
I mean, yeah, it's standard peacocking. I mean, most guys wear these, weird hoops on their ears, or they might have like a cut eyelash or some eyebrow or something like that, or some chains or rings. But you stand out properly. Anybody would want to know what's happening with this guy. Who's this guy?
Yeah, I just have to be different. That's all it is.
That's interesting. That's interesting.
But now, if you say to a child, if I went up to a child and said, you've had one to forget, God, there'd be an inquest. Me, why did you reject my son? Oh, I haven't rejected your son.
I want to talk about, how the generation gap, how much has changed, especially when you check the youth nowadays in comparison, to people back in the day. When you think about it, how people were, how do you say this, more disciplined, I'd like to say.
I'd say when I was younger, it was more disciplined. Not now.
In comparison to now.
Not at all. Not now. The way things are nowadays, the younger generation, you seem that they can't accept the word no. If that makes sense.
They can't accept rejection, essentially, is what you're trying to say.
Yeah, they can't accept the word no. So if you, how did I do? Or you didn't do very well, and they get upset. And when I was a youngster, my father used to say to me, because I used to be sport mad when I was very young. Well, I still am sport mad, but like participating in different sports. And if I had a bad game, for example, I'd say to me, you had one to forget.
That's it. Your dad sounds like a smart guy. I mean, damn, that's the real fact of the matter, yeah.
He'd say to me, you had one to forget. Get over it. And that was it. So I'd dust myself down and do it again. But now, if you say to a child, if I went up to a child and said, you've had one to forget, God, there'd be an inquest. An inquest. Me, why did you reject my son? Oh, I haven't rejected your son. Or daughter. I've just told them that they need to buck their ideas up.
That's the truth right there. I mean, if you think about it, if you check the generations, like right now in the US as well, I've seen a lot of these things as well. In the UK, you get medals for participation. But what's the point? What are you trying to? Yeah, what's the point? Either you win or you lose. People are so afraid to put that whole notion of losing. Like, oh, it's gonna hurt your self-esteem, or people will not be able to recover from that. So it reminds me of this interesting story as well. When you think about it, back in the day, my dad used to tell me how our granddaddy, you can see, like, I'm part Sri Lankan as well. So my granddad from Sri Lanka, he was a farmer. He started off as a farmer. So when they had a bad day, they'd look in the sky and they'd be like, okay, I had a bad day. Well, it is what it is. And then they just continue their work. They continue their farming. And they forget about this whole thing. That's what I'm talking about. When it comes to right now, the generation gap is just crazy. How much a lot has changed. Social media has taken control of our lives. And we don't even realize it anymore. We're crippled because of it.
That's absolutely right, Nick. Because, as you said, nowadays it seems that you get rewarded for failure. For the life of me, Nick, I can't get my head around that. Perhaps I'm just getting old and morbid, I don't know. I just can't get my head around how you could be rewarded for failure. You have the Olympic Games. If you come first, you get a gold medal. If you come second, you get a silver medal. If you come third, you get a bronze. If you come 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 20th, 30th, you didn't make it.
Yeah, tough luck. That's the truth of it.
Try again in 4 years, But now, the younger generation, didn't, that's...
Yeah,
I see it, it's...
Welcome back to the show. I am Jaimmy, and this is, of course, the Chat Wrap on Relaks Radio. If you're just tuning in, welcome to the show. Hope you are having yourself an amazing day so far. We've had a lot of, I would say, different conversation. We've spoken about a variety of entertainment news. We've spoken of a lot of different things. But I want to remind you that if there's something specific that you want me to talk about, or, if you want to add your thoughts and your perspectives into something, we would absolutely love to hear it. All you got to do is go on right ahead and comment down below if you're listening to us on any of our social media. With that being said, I also want to remind you to check us out on social media. That is Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. We go as Relax Radio, and we are giving you the best of content 24/7, 365. So make sure that you download our app and make sure that you go show us some love on our social media platforms. Now, with that being said, I want to remind everybody that your opinion absolutely counts. Your opinion is valuable to us as an interactive radio, which is why we want to hear what you have to say. So if you want to add something about all the shows that happen here, go right ahead and feel free to connect with us on our social media. Like I told you before, we go as Relax Radio on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Now, okay, let me just start off by saying we are spelled without the X and Relax because we are all about positivity. We're all about making sure that you are full of positive energy and positive hype, and you are as happy could be. And that is what we are there for you 24/7, 365. So if you want that little bit of a push to, be as positive as possible, if you want a little bit of a push to, get through your day, all you gotta do is make sure that you keep it tuned right here on Relax Radio. Now, with that being said, I want to talk about something that I found really, really interesting. And if you're somebody that is interested in dinosaurs, then you are going to be absolutely interested as well, because scientists say that they found a new dinosaur species, which is supposedly the largest species in Australia. Now, I find that absolutely amazing. And apparently, scientists in Australia have classified a new species of a dinosaur that was discovered way back in 2007, but only was verified very recently. Now, it is apparently the largest ever to be found, and the Australian or the Southern Titan, as it's called, is among the 15 largest dinosaurs found in the world. Now, experts say the Titanosaur would have been up to 6.5 meters, which is about 21 feet tall and 30 meters long, and as long as a basketball court. Oh my goodness. Just imagine that if that thing was walking around on Earth right now, that would be absolutely scary. Now, its skeleton was first discovered on a farm in southwest Queensland in Australia, and paleontologists had worked over the past decade to identify the dinosaur because they needed to distinguish it from other known species by comparing scans of its bones to those of the other sauropods. Now, sauropods are essentially plant-eating dinosaurs known for their size. So if you watched any of the Jurassic World series, you'd know that they're the ones with the long necks and the long tails. Those are sauropods, and yeah, they are basically known for their size and the fact that they were herbivores. They had small heads and very, very, very long necks and long tails and thick pillar-like legs. These dinosaurs apparently roamed Earth during the long time ago, but about 92 to 96 million years ago. Now, the team of researchers had nicknamed the dinosaur Cooper while working on it after it was found near Cooper Creek in Queensland. So that's just some news for you, and that's pretty exciting to know that they've come across a species that used to live 90 to more than 90 million years ago. And I think that just goes to show that it's so important. If you didn't know, the rhinoceros is essentially considered to be extinct as of now. They were in a danger of extinction, but the rhinoceros is one of the animals that are considered to be almost extinct right now, because there's only such a few animals around the world, and that absolutely is scary to me because, see, this planet that we live on, it's not ours, it's not yours, it's not mine, it's not our children's, it's not human, it's not our planet. Just because there's so many other species and species that have been here way before we have, and to know that because of our actions and because of human actions, a lot of these species are becoming extinct. That okay, it's crazy for me to know that in 10 years from now we're going to be like, oh, our children 10 years from now are going to be like, oh, what is a dinosaur, what did it look like? And the only references we'd have is bones and pictures and videos to show them, whereas the real thing is no longer in this world, which is absolutely sad. And that just goes to show that humans are well, to be blamed for a lot of the negative consequences that Mother Earth is suffering. And I think that's why it's so important that we start talking about how we can cure Mother Earth, what we can do in our little ways to ensure that we aren't the worst inhabitants of Earth ever. And it's never too late to start. And I think it's a process. It's a process of teaching your children to do little things that absolutely count towards, curing Mother Earth, count towards being a little bit more green, cost effective, energy efficient. And that means, switching off your lights when you walk out of your room. It's not about you being able to afford a crazy electricity bill or a crazy water bill. It's not about that. It's about, being passionate or compassionate towards this earth that we live in. And it's definitely something that we owe to our future generations. So little things such as, turning off your lights when you leave the room, or teaching your children to act in more energy efficient ways, no matter how trivial it might seem. I want to remind you that every little thing counts. So let's remember that we don't have an alternative planet to go to, and let's remember to do our best to help reduce climate change, to help preserve this beautiful earth and everything that it has given us. Now, with that being said, let's head on over to a little break, but make sure that you keep it tuned right here on Relax Radio.
Again. But now, if you say to a child, if I went up to a child and said, you've had one to forget, God, there'd be an inquest. Me, why did you reject my son? Oh, I haven't rejected your son.
I want to talk about, how the generation gap, how much it's changed, especially when you check the youth nowadays in comparison, to people back in the day. When you think about it, how people were, how do you say this, more disciplined, I'd like to say.
I'd say when I was younger, it was more disciplined. Not now.
In comparison to now.
Not at all. Not now. The way things are nowadays, the younger generation, you seem that they can't accept the word no. If that makes sense. They can't
accept rejection, essentially, is all you're trying to say.
Yeah, they can't accept the word no. So if you, how did I do? Or you didn't do very well. And they get upset. And when I was a youngster, my father used to say to me, because I used to be sport mad when I was very young. Well, I still am sport mad, but like participating in different sports. And if I had a bad game, for example, he might say to me, you had one to forget.
That sounds like a smart guy. I mean, damn, that's the real fact of the matter, yeah.
He said to me, you had one to forget. Get over it. And that was it. So I dust myself down and do it again. But now, if you say to a child, if I went up to a child and said, you've had one to forget, God, there'd be an inquest. An inquest. Me, why did you reject my son? Oh, I haven't rejected your son. Or daughter. I've just told them that they need to buck their ideas up.
That's the truth right there. I mean, if you think about it, if you check the generations, like right now in the US as well, I've seen a lot of these things as well. In the UK, you get medals for participation. But what's the point? What are you trying to? Yeah, what's the point? Either you win or you lose. People are so afraid to put that whole notion of losing. Like, oh, it's gonna hurt your self-esteem, or people will not be able to recover from that. So it reminds me of this interesting story as well. When you think about it, back in the day, my dad used to tell me how our granddaddy, you can see, like, I'm part Sri Lankan as well. So my granddad from Sri Lanka, he was a farmer. He started off as a farmer. So when they had a bad day, they'd look in the sky and they'd be like, okay, I had a bad day. Well, it is what it is. And then they just continue their work. They continue their farming, and they forget about this whole thing. That's what I'm talking about. When it comes to right now, the generation gap is just crazy. How much a lot has changed. Social media has taken control of our lives, and we don't even realize it anymore. We're crippled because of it.
That's absolutely right, Nick. Because, as you said, you know, nowadays it seems that you get rewarded for failure. You know, for the life of me, Nick, I can't get my head around that. Perhaps I'm just getting old and morbid. I don't know. I just can't get my head around how you could be rewarded for failure. You know, you have the Olympic Games. If you come first, you get a gold medal. If you come second, you get a silver medal. If you come third, you get a bronze. If you come 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 20th, 30th, you didn't make it.
Yeah, tough luck. That's the truth of it.
Try again in 4 years, you know. But now, you know, the younger generation, you know, diddums, you know, I see it, you know. It's,
a nice slow conversation.
A very good morning to you and welcome back to the show. This is, of course, the Chat Trap on Relax Radio. Hope you are having yourself an amazing day so far. We have a lot of very interesting things to talk about, and we've been talking about a lot of different things. And I just want to know your opinion. I want to know what you are thinking. I want to know, if you have a different opinion, go right ahead and share it with us. All you got to do is call me on 07852 473 473, or you could simply connect with me by commenting down below. Now, I also want to remind you before we get on into the actual conversation, I want to remind you that you can keep yourself up to date with everything that's happening around the globe if you simply go show us some love on our social media. That is Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. We go as Relax Radio, and you can check us out, connect with us, send us a DM, send us an inbox message with whatever you need to hear from us. If you want to have a conversation, we are here for you 24/7, 365. Now, with that being said, I want to talk about something that's kind of interesting, which if you are somebody that's on a path to, getting fit and exercising, this is something that you're definitely going to want to hear. Now, this idea of, okay, I'm not going to lie, I'm just like every other person. When I have moments or weeks or months where I'm super motivated and I absolutely love to work out and I will go to the gym and I will stay fit and I will stay healthy. But I have noticed this kind of routine or this kind of pattern. Okay. So for a few months, I would go, or weeks, I would go being healthy and being fit. And that would follow a few weeks of absolutely trash eating and, not being bothered to stay fit and healthy. And it's just a cycle that keeps going on and on and on. Now, I kind of managed to get over it, this whole cycle of being unfit and being fit. And I just want to talk to you about that for a second, because I know that it is extremely common, but it's something that a lot of us don't talk about. How soon do we become unfit when we stop exercising? This essentially is what I'm going to be talking about the next few minutes. And if even if you're somebody that isn't really motivated, or even if you're somebody that isn't really into this whole fitness scene and exercising, this is definitely going to be useful to you, because it has something for everybody. Now, with that being said, I understand that it can take months of hard work to build up fitness and start getting to that habit of eating healthy. But while your strength can quickly fade if you stop exercising, you apparently there are researchers, or there's this new study that says that you might not have to start from scratch again. This is something that I've been told quite often. They said, oh, if you start eating healthy and start getting fit, and then you stop suddenly, you're going to have to start from scratch. Now, that absolutely terrified me from even wanting to start working out, because who knows what the future can hold. But apparently that's not the case, right? There is, see, okay, let me unravel it to you step by step. See, getting into shape isn't easy, but after all that hard work, how long do we actually maintain it? See, it turns out that even after the great effort that we put into training and taking a bit of time off can mean that we can become quite unfit, much faster than it actually took us to get in shape. Now, I know that's something that a lot of us are aware of, just because it's something that, I mean, if you are somebody that exercises, you've obviously gone through this. So, to understand how the body becomes unfit, we first need to comprehend or understand how we become fit. The key to becoming fitter, whether it's improving your cardiovascular fitness or muscular strength, or just eating healthy, is to exceed habitual load. Now, what exactly? I know this sounds very technical, but trust me, it is not that technical. It's just something that we need to know. Okay, so habitual load essentially means doing more than your body is used to. This, or rather, the stress that this has on our body essentially makes us adapt and become more tolerable, or tolerant, and leading to higher levels of fitness. I mean, the day you started to work out, or the day that you started to essentially be more fit, it obviously was so much harder than a month from then. To lift your weights, or just to keep in that schedule would have been so much harder when you started, as opposed to a month of doing it. And that essentially goes back to this whole concept of habitual load. Now, the time it takes to get fit depends on a number of factors. And that includes a person's fitness level, your age, and how hard you work, and how dedicated you are, and also the environment that you exercise in. Apparently, heat and pollution can affect the psychological response to exercise, but that's like a whole different conversation. But at the end of the day, for strength training, some gains in muscle force can be shown in as little as 2 weeks. But changes in muscle size won't be seen until about 8 to 12 weeks. Now, strength training is also very similar. Of course, not most of us are marathon runners, but we're also not immune to these effects. As soon as you stop exercising, your body is going to start losing the key cardiovascular adaptations. This is when I meant, after months of training, your body kind of gets used to it. You're going to start losing these effects. As soon as you stop exercising, the body will start to lose these key adaptations at a very similar rate to highly trained athletes. Now, when it comes to strength, the evidence shows that in average, 12 weeks without training causes a significant decrease in the amount of weight you can lift. Now, that's when it comes to professional athletes or whatever, but that can also apply to you. Now, thankfully, research shows that you maintain some of the strength you gained before you stopped training. So, what is intriguing to me, and the reason I wanted to talk to you about this, is that despite this significant decrease in strength, there's only a minimal decrease in the size of the muscle fibers, if that makes any sense. So, the reason we lose muscle strength largely has to do with the fact that we're no longer putting our muscles under that excess stress or exercise, as you call it. So when you're no longer working your muscles hard, the muscles become lazy, leading to the number of our muscle fibers decrease, leading to the decrease of our muscle fibers rather. And fewer muscles are being recruited during an activity makes us less able to lift heavy loads. So I hope that that makes any sense to you. So basically, the average gym goer who lifts weight would experience a drop in the size of their muscles and over time find it harder to lift heavy loads as they have fewer muscle fibers being recruited. Now, the reason I wanted to talk to you about this is if you're trying to get into the gym scene or trying to get fit in some sort of way, don't overdo it, because if you're going to overdo it, your body is going to adapt so much faster. And if you're going to if you know something happens and you decide to take a break, that drop is going to be similarly huge, which is why you need to take it a step by step. Even if you think you can do it, a day of two or a week even of you doing extreme exercising isn't going to be as good when you spend 2 weeks trying to recover. So I'm no expert, but reading all of these research articles, we come to the conclusion that when it comes to working out or even eating healthy, even if it's you're following like a diet plan or whatever, start off easy. Start off with having exceptions. If it's a diet that you want to do, start off by having not having a fully bland, absolutely despiteful diet. Have some things that you like, but have that balance between what you like and what's healthy. So it's going to be easier for you to actually withstand or actually continue that progress or continue that schedule of either healthy eating or exercising for a long period of time. I think that's super important, and that is something that all of us need to remember, not just when it comes to eating, just in terms of everything. You need to take it step by step instead of wanting the whole load of success in one go. It's not how life works. And even if I think it kind of goes back to our first conversation where I told you success doesn't come overnight. So anything that promises you success overnight is either going to be short-lived or it's going to be very unhealthy. So that is something that I do want you to remember. Make sure that you share your thoughts. If you think you agree with this whole concept, let me know. All you gotta do is call me on 07852 With that being said, let's take a little break, but make sure that you keep it tuned right here on Relax Radio.
But now, if you say to a child, if I went up to a child and said, "You've had one to forget," God, there'd be an inquest. Me, why did you reject my son? Oh, I haven't rejected your son.
I want to talk about how the generation gap, how much has changed, especially when you check the youth nowadays in comparison, to people back in the day. When you think about it, how people were, how do you say this, more disciplined, I'd like to say.
I'd say when I was younger, it was more disciplined. Not now.
In comparison to now.
Not at all. Not now. The way things are. Nowadays, the younger generation, you seem that they can't accept the word no, if that makes sense.
They can't accept rejection, essentially, is what you're trying to say.
Yeah, they can't accept the word no. So if you, how did I do, or you didn't do very well, they get upset. And when I was a youngster, my father used to say to me, because I used to be sport mad when I was very young, I still am sport mad, but like participating in different sports. And if I had a bad game, for example, he might say to me, "You had one to forget." That's it.
Yeah, that sounds like a smart guy. I mean, damn, that's the real fact of the matter. Yeah.
He'd say to me, "You had one to forget. Get over it," and that was it. So I dust myself down and do it again. But now, if you say to a child, if I went up to a child and said, you've had one to forget, God, there'd be an inquest. An inquest. They'd have to tell me, why did you reject my son? Well, I haven't rejected your son. Or daughter. I've just told them that they need to buck their ideas up.
That's the truth right there. I mean, if you think about it, if you check the generations, like right now in the US as well, I've seen a lot of these things as well in the UK. You know, you get medals for participation. Well, what's the point? What are you trying to? Yeah, what's the point? Either you win or you lose. People are so afraid to put that whole notion of losing, like, oh, it's gonna hurt your self-esteem, or people will not be able to recover from that. So it reminds me of this interesting story as well when you think about it. Back in the day, my dad used to tell me how our granddaddy, like, you can see, like, I'm part Sri Lankan as well. So my granddad from Sri Lanka, he was a farmer. He started off as a farmer. So, you know, when they had a bad day, they'd look in the sky and they'd be like, okay, I had a bad day. Well, it is what it is. And then they just continue their work. They continue their farming and they forget about this whole thing. That's what I'm talking about. You know, when it comes to right now, the generation gap is just crazy. You know, how much a lot has changed. Social media has taken control of our lives and we don't even realize it anymore. We're crippled because of it.
That's absolutely right, Nick. Because as you said, you know, nowadays it seems that you get rewarded for failure. You know, for the life of me, Nick, I can't get my head around that. Perhaps I'm just getting old and morbid, I don't know. I just can't get my head around how you could be rewarded for failure. You know, you have the Olympic Games. If you come first, you get a gold medal. If you come second, you get a silver medal. If you come third, you get a bronze. If you come 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 20th, 30th, you didn't make it.
Yeah, tough luck. That's the truth of it.
Try again in 4 years, you know. But now, you know, the younger generation, you know, didn't, you know, I see it, you know. It's,
oh, and it could be a really good pickup line as well. Ladies will ask, "Hey, excuse me, so why are you wearing something so colorful?" I mean, hey, you can always have something up on your sleeve. I mean, you look like a guy who would do.
You know me too well. You know me too well, Nick.
Got me thinking. You know, you want to stand out. Why do you want to stand out though so much, especially with these kind of shirts when you're riding? There must be a purpose behind it, right?
Well, when you say a purpose, Nick, what I do, I wear the shirts. Mainly, one, because they're nice and bright, so they make me visible, especially if I'm riding on the road.
Okay. I mean, yeah, that's very important, right? Because you want cars, yeah.
Very important. And also, like, people see me in, like, calves, and perhaps I shouldn't be saying this on air, I suppose, but in the bar afterwards.
All right.
And it gives them something to look at, and it makes them laugh. It makes them laugh, so that's why I do it.
Oh, and it could be a really good pickup line as well. Ladies will ask, "Hey, excuse me, so why are you wearing something so colorful?" I mean, hey, you can always have something up on your sleeve. I mean, you look like a guy who would do.
You know me too well. You know me too well, Nick. Exactly. I never said that, but yes, that's another reason why I wear them as well.
I mean, yeah, it's standard peacocking. I mean, most guys wear these, you know, weird hoops on their ears, or they might have like a cut eyelash or some eyebrow or something like that, or some chains or rings. But you stand out properly. Anybody would want to know what's happening with this guy. Who's this guy?
Yeah, I just have to be different. That's all it is.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting.
Hello Hello there, and welcome back to the show. Very good morning to you, or good afternoon, doesn't matter wherever you are, because we have a lot of people listening in from around the world, and I want to say a big hello going out to you. Hope you are enjoying yourself, hope you are happy and content with how your life is going, and I want to say thank you for being a part of the show. It's definitely been such a pleasure having you on board. It's definitely been such a pleasure to interact with you, and it's been a pleasure to talk to you. And I just want you to know that you could always share your thoughts, your opinions, and your ideas with whatever we have to say. So go right ahead and call me up on 07852 473 or you could very simply connect with me on our social media, that is Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. We go as Relax Radio, and we are talking to you about a lot of different things. So make sure that you keep it tuned right here on Relax Radio. Now, with that being said, it's about the time that I head on out of here, but don't worry, because we got a lot more shows that's happening today. The next show is going to be keeping you updated with all the technological news, current affairs, politics, everything that you need to know. We are going to keep you updated, which gives you all the more reason to make sure that you keep it tuned right here on Relax Radio. And additionally, I also want to, before I leave, actually, I want to do something for you. I want to make sure that I want to give you a few tips rather on what you can do to become a better person today than you were yesterday. Now, I know that sounds like a huge task rather, and I know that sounds really daunting. But I want to say, when you actually think about it, it's not too hard to become a better person, and it's not about becoming the best person. But we've been talking about success quite a lot today. And I think the key to success is essentially becoming a better person. Physically, mentally, spiritually, whatever it is, becoming a better person than you were yesterday. And it essentially isn't a competition where you kind of measure who the best out of everybody is. It's not that. I think success is you becoming a better person as opposed to what you were yesterday. Now, what essentially can you do to become the best version of yourself? Now, we've all made mistakes throughout our lives that haven't exactly put us in best light. Like maybe, I don't know, something I don't know, bullying somebody in school, or telling what seemed like a little white lie. Now, chances are, however, you probably felt a little guilt and grew because of the situation. Now, I'm an average person trying to become better both in my work and in my every other aspect of my life. Now, the thing is, you need to understand that you are never going to match to society's standards of perfect. But that doesn't mean that you don't have to try to match your standard of perfect. So if you want to grow or continue to grow as a person, you need to make the most of yourself. Because if you make the most of yourself, that is all that's there for you. So you need to make the most of yourself. So what essentially can you do to make the most of yourself, to become a little bit better than you were yesterday? What can you do? Now, one thing that I do want you to remember is to compliment yourself. Every morning before you go with your daily routine, take a couple of minutes to give yourself a compliment. Whether you compliment your outfit, or your haircut, or how you recently completed a task using your unique skills, or whatever it is, no matter how trivial it may seem, make sure that you do compliment yourself. And I think when you do that, and it's almost like a mantra you say aloud to yourself, it kind of helps you put yourself in peak performance state. Because, like I told you, if you don't love yourself, how can you love anybody else? Or how is anybody else going to love you? Secondly, don't make excuses. Blaming your spouse or your boss or your clients, that is so fruitless. And I've spoken about this before as well. If you blame your context, and if you blame your situation and your circumstances, you aren't going to get very far. So instead of pointing fingers and making excuses about why you aren't happy or successful in your personal or professional life, you need to own your mistakes and you need to learn from them. See, when you do this, you will become a better person. And I guarantee that that's going to essentially help you to live up to your mistakes, which in turn helps you become happy and healthy because you are accepting yourself as it is and you are going to improve and become a better person. Let go of anger. Letting go of anger is definitely so much easier said than done. Trust me, I know. While anger is perfectly normal emotion, you can't let it fester. When this happens, you make unwise decisions to say the least. And more important, it may affect your health. See, pent up anger can cause a lot of health issues. When it comes to sleeping or heart diseases or digestive problems, these are facts. And to help you let go of anger, one thing that I've found helpful is to write your feelings down. When you do write, you're kind of channeling your emotion to something else so that you don't channel it to yourself or somebody else. Other thing, of course, you've heard this before. If you want to let go of your anger, pray or meditate or begin to manage your thoughts. I think that's super important, not just in becoming a better person, but managing your thoughts is overall healthy, not just for you, but for those around you as well. Of course, practice forgiveness. You got to forgive and let go of resentment. If for no other reason, you need to do it for yourself. Forgive to untether yourself from the negative experiences of the past. Take time to meditate and give thanks for the wisdom and the knowledge that you have gained from all those traumatic or suffering situations in your past. you know I one mantra that a lot of people say. I don't know, because I this is something that I'm trying to get into, but something that can definitely help you is practicing this mantra: I forgive you and I release you. Not just, you shouldn't just say it to yourself, but say it to other people as well. Be honest and be direct. Be as helpful as possible, listen to others, and it doesn't take too much effort to be kind or be polite, so make sure that you do that. Now, with that being said, it's about the time that I head on out of here, but make sure that you keep it tuned right here on Relax Radio. Hope you have the most amazing day ahead. Make sure that you check us out on our social media and you show us some love. With that being said, I will see you tomorrow, same time, same place. Until then, a very goodbye.